Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We are Dr. Dick and Nancy Walker. For those of you who do not recognize us, we are Triple Diamonds in Asea, and we are here having a conversation about something that's been in the news lately. And I was asking Dr. Walker what he thought, what his thoughts were about this new epidemic of the coronavirus. Now, my husband has been a physician for more than 35 years. He's double board certified in internal medicine and emergency medicine, and he has a degree in preventive medicine. So, Dick, people are really concerned with this outbreak of this new coronavirus from China. Is it really something to be concerned about?
I think there's certainly reason to be concerned, but I don't think there's any reason to panic at this point in time. In the U.S., we probably ought to be more concerned about influenza, since it's influenza season right now, and that's a much more common infection. But there's reason to be concerned enough to be concerned about your preparedness for something like this. You know, viruses are by far and away the most dangerous member of the animal kingdom. They cause more misery, disease, and death really than any other animal on the face of the earth, and we can't even see them, you know, until not that long ago we didn't even know they existed. And in this case, this virus passes the danger level because it's spread from person to person. It doesn't require a vector like a mosquito or something else to bite us, to infect us. And so, you know, right off the bat, I'd just like to say that there are some very practical things you can do to protect yourself. Number one is to, as much as possible, avoid situations where you might be exposed to the virus. You know, that's why they've canceled flights to China. But, you know, stay away from, you know, big groups of people if you think that there's going to be any risk of infection. And wash your hands. Probably the single most important things we could do is wash our hands. When you're flying, you might want to wipe down your tray table, your seat arms, that sort of thing, with you know, a disinfectant wet wipe, or spray redox signaling molecules on it, and just do you know, sensible things to avoid coming down with the infection to begin with.
We've all heard that Asea is antiviral. What exactly does that mean?
Well, most people are referring to, is an antiviral on contact? In other words, is it like a disinfectant kind of thing? And some of the early research on this, on some of the properties of this solution called redox signaling molecules, is that it was antibacterial. So that doesn't necessarily extend to the fact when you drink them and they get into your system. They don't work just that way inside your body, but they certainly work that way on surfaces and on the outside.
So how does consuming Asea help us then?
Well, you know, I think the most important way in which it helps us is that your best, you know, offense against this kind of thing is to have a very healthy defense. And what do I mean by that? I mean, optimize every aspect of your health, because if you're a healthy person and you get exposed to this virus or come down with the virus, in general, you're going to be much more likely be able to manage that and not succumb to it. And so how do you do that? Well, you optimize your cellular health by optimizing cellular communication, by being sure that you're replenishing with redox signaling molecules so that your cell-to-cell communication is working, so that your immune system cells are talking to the rest of your cells, and that you're maximizing your genetic expression in terms of dealing with infectious problems and restoring functionality. And so being ready for any challenge really involves getting all your cells as healthy as they can be, not just your immune system, and in this case, not just your respiratory system, although that's the primary system that gets involved with this virus.
So what you've just explained to us says that it's more than just about boosting your immune system.
You know, absolutely. I mean, whenever you're talking about an infection, you want to be sure that your immune system is on guard, ready to respond. And in this case, this is a virus that nobody's immune system has ever seen before. That doesn't mean that it's not going to work against it. It just takes a little more time for the immune system to initiating a response. But it's really important that all your systems be ready and on guard. If you had a great healthy immune system, but everything else was not working very well, you're not going to survive this or prevent it as well as you are if all of your cells are maximally healthy. And being sure that your internal environment has plenty of redox signaling molecules and maximizing cellular communication and cellular function is a great way, and a very important way, to get all of your systems as healthy as can be, so that they can all come together to counteract this sort of thing. And certainly your respiratory system needs to be as healthy as it can be and ready to participate in this kind of a challenge if you become affected.
Oftentimes we hear that the elderly age group gets hit the hardest when there's an epidemic like this. Why is that?
Well, as we age, we are, redox signaling molecules, which are really responsible for a big part of us maintaining our health and vitality. Our body makes those, but the ability to make them declines with age. And so what happens is that our body just gets less and less resilient in maintaining function at the cellular level, not just in the immune system, but in all of our systems. And we know that aging is a molecular thing. It's not a genetic thing. And we know that we can counteract that to a significant degree by bioreplenishing with redox signaling molecules, specifically since Asea is the only company that has one with Asea cell signaling supplement. And so the elderly are more prone to having more serious problems with this. But fortunately, there's something we can do about it now that we have a supplement for these molecules.
In addition to that, what is alarming as well is it's not just the elderly that we've heard about that have been in trouble when it comes to an epidemic, but otherwise healthy people in their middle years. And that is alarming. And how does that happen?
That's a very good question, because that's been something that sort of stymied researchers for years. But what's important to understand is that in many cases with a viral infection like this, an overly aggressive immune response by your body can actually harm you. And it all has to do with inflammation. And what's important to understand is that cellular communication, redox signaling molecules, are very much involved in helping our immune system to modulate its response. In other words, you don't want the response to be too little. You don't want the immune system to shrug it off and say, well, I've never seen this thing before. I don't think it's probably not going to be that bad, so I'm not going to do much about it. But you also don't want it to send out the fifth regiment or whatever it is and say, we're going to go after this thing as hard as we can from the very beginning, because that may not be appropriate either. So there's a bunch of kind of molecular biochemical decisions that have to be made within the immune system so that the response is either not too little or not too much, but actually just right, or at least as right as possible, so that you don't get these excessive inflammatory responses in the lungs that overwhelm the lungs with secretions, and people have to go on ventilators and that sort of thing. So you want your lungs and all your other systems to be as healthy as possible, because they've got to be working at their best if you come down with this infection. And you also want an immune system that responds appropriately. And redox signaling molecules are important in that regard. And having a supplement that we can use to replenish those and be sure that we've got enough of them on hand to do that job is really, really important in helping our body to respond to this sort of a challenge.
It sounds like Asea can help in all cases. So what would your recommendation be to keep all of us healthy during this outbreak of epidemics and during this time of influenza? What should we all be doing?
Well, don't forget the basics. I mean, your body's health isn't only redox signaling molecules, although that's a very important part of it and a part where many people are lacking. But you need good micronutrients. You need to be sure that your cells are getting all the nutrients that they need. You need to be sure that you're exercising. You need to be sure that you're getting sleep. You need to, minimize the stress levels as much as possible. So, it's all the things that we know that contribute to wellness. And as you know, if you've listened to me talk very much, you understand that wellness is not a passive activity. Wellness is something that requires your participation, or you're just not going to have the level of wellness that you need in order to have the level of health that you really want and be able to meet these sorts of challenges as they occur.
Well, thank you, Dr. Walker, and thanks everyone for joining us for this very important conversation.
Thanks a lot, everybody. I hope you learned something.